Nobody warns you about the silence. Not the kind that comes from being alone, the kind that comes from knowing things other people aren't supposed to know. You didn't choose this life. You were built for it. And that distinction matters more than you think. Most people believe the internet is a window. Open it, look out, close it when you're done. But there's a version of the internet that has no window, no sky, no closing. And the people who live there don't just browse. They operate. They run things. And if you had been born at the top of that world, if you had been the one they called king, your life would look nothing like what you've been told power looks like. Level 1. The beginning. You are young. Younger than anyone around you suspects. You discovered early that systems have gaps, rules have edges, and most people never bother to look at the edges. But you do. You always did. While other kids were memorizing what they were supposed to know, you were learning what you weren't. You didn't set out to break anything. You just kept pulling on threads that everyone else ignored. Your bedroom is unremarkable. A desk, a screen, the low hum of a computer fan that runs all night. The blue light doesn't bother you anymore. You've stopped noticing when the sun goes down. That's the first thing you lose, though you don't register it as a loss yet. Time. The ordinary shape of a day. You build your first marketplace in the dark, not with a team, not with funding. Alone, in the quiet, with nothing but code and a growing certainty that you understand how things actually work. People find you. They always find someone who knows what they're doing. And once they find you, they don't let go, where the money starts. And this is also where most people lose themselves. It arrives quietly at first. Not in your bank account. That would be careless. In wallets that exist only in mathematics. In numbers on a screen that represent something you can't quite touch yet. But you know it's real because of what it buys. Better hardware, better connections, better anonymity. The infrastructure of invisibility. You're running something now. A marketplace, a community, a hidden economy with its own rules, its own currency, its own reputation system. People leave feedback. Vendors compete for stars. Disputes get resolved. It looks almost normal from the inside. That's what unsettles you the most. How normal it feels, but that doesn't last. The requests start changing. In the beginning, it was information, software, things that existed in legal gray areas. Now there are other things moving through your network, things you didn't design the system for. And here is the first real test of who you are. You have to decide whether to look away. Most people in your position look away. It's easier. It keeps the money moving. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Later becomes the architecture of everything that follows, where the pressure begins. You are not anonymous anymore, not truly. You have a name, not your real name, but the name they use. A handle, a myth. Other operators in the dark know who you are. They show you respect the way people show respect when what they actually feel is threat assessment. Are you stronger than me? Are you a problem? These are the only questions that matter in this world. The money is no longer a number. It is a weight. A room temperature kind of pressure behind every decision you make. You've moved it, laundered it, converted it, hidden it across jurisdictions that have no cooperation agreements with each other. You have people who help you do this now. And the moment you have people who help you, you have people who can be arrested. People who can talk. You start thinking about trust differently. Not as something you extend, but as something you audit. Every person in your orbit becomes a variable, a risk coefficient. You catch yourself calculating odds at the dinner table, if you still have a dinner table. If you still sit with people who don't know what you are, that's when the real problem starts. There are no friends at this level. There are only people who benefit from your continued operation, and people who would benefit from your destruction. The line between them is thinner than anyone outside this world would believe, where it gets dangerous. Law enforcement has found threads. Not yours, not yet, but nearby ones. Other operations have collapsed. Markets you competed with are gone overnight. The operators behind them are in small rooms with fluorescent lights, and they are talking. They are always talking. Everyone talks eventually. The ones who don't are the ones who have nothing left to bargain with. You watch the forums go dark one by one. You read between the lines of news articles that try to explain your world to people who will never understand it. You see your own name appear in adjacent conversations. Not your real name, the other one, the myth. But the myth is getting closer to the person. You move. Not once, multiple times. Different countries, different identities. You've prepared for this. You've always prepared for this. But preparation and reality are different sensations. Preparation is intellectual. Reality is the weight of a bag packed in under 4 minutes because something changed in the network traffic. Reality is not looking out of airplane windows. Reality is learning to read a room before you enter it. And somewhere inside all of this, there is a version of you that remembers being 14, sitting at a desk, pulling on threads. That version of you had no idea what the thread was attached to. You think about him sometimes, not with regret exactly, with something more complicated than regret, where control becomes illusion. At the height of it, your operation is moving things across continents that governments spend billions trying to stop. You have redundancies for your redundancies, dead drops, rotating servers, communication protocols that would take years to decode. From the outside, you look untouchable. From the inside, you know that untouchable is a story you tell yourself to get through the week. The kingdom is real. The crown is real. But the kingdom exists in encrypted channels and probabilistic anonymity, and the goodwill of people whose loyalty is purely transactional. You are not a king in any sense that has ever meant safety. You are the most visible target in an invisible war. And everyone who works for you, everyone who benefits from you, everyone who fears you, they are all, in one way or another, a door that could open. You have made people rich. You have made people dangerous. You have moved quantities of harm through the world that you stopped counting because the counting was too heavy. You tell yourself that you didn't create the demand. That's true, you didn't. But you built the road. Sleep is a negotiation now. It comes when it comes. Sometimes you lie awake listening to the sound of a city that doesn't know you're in it, running the numbers, rechecking variables, looking for the thing you might have missed. There is always a thing you might have missed, where the architecture collapses. It doesn't happen the way you imagined. You imagined something dramatic, a raid, a moment, a confrontation with a clear shape to it. Instead, it is slow, a conversation that goes slightly wrong, a transaction flagged in a jurisdiction you underestimated, a person who made a deal you didn't know about because they had something to protect that was more important to them than their loyalty to you. The threads, eventually, always lead somewhere. That is the nature of systems. Everything is connected to everything else, and the people who spend their entire careers pulling on threads are patient in a way that operational urgency doesn't allow you to be. When it ends in silence. The same silence it began with, but a different quality of silence. The kind that settles after noise rather than the kind that precedes it. You sit somewhere, a room, a car, a border crossing that didn't go the way you planned, and you understand for the first time what it means to be still, not by choice, by the absence of choices, what never change. Every empire built in the dark believes it is different, smarter, better designed, more prepared for the ways things unravel. They are not. The dark web is not a different kind of world. It is the same world, running on different infrastructure. The same forces apply. Trust breaks. People protect themselves. Systems that depend on secrecy are only as strong as the weakest secret. Power at that level does not feel like freedom. It feels like a room with no exits that you slowly stop noticing has no exits. The money is real. The reach is real. But the cost is everything that doesn't show up in any ledger. The ability to be known, to be ordinary, to exist inside a day that has a beginning and an end. What never changes is this. The people who build kingdoms in hidden places are not different from the people who build them in visible ones. They want the same things: respect, control, certainty that the chaos outside cannot reach them. The difference is only that the hidden places make the consequences invisible for longer, and longer is not the same as never. The dark web has had its kings. Some are in prison, some are dead. Some are still moving, still calculating, still listening to the hum of a machine that runs all night. None of them will tell you it was worth it, not because they're broken, but because worth it is a question that only makes sense when you still have something left to measure it against. You were born into this story. You didn't choose it, but every day inside it you made choices, small ones. The kind that don't feel like choices when you're making them, the kind that only have weight when you look back. That's the thing no one tells you about power. It doesn't feel like power when you're holding it. It feels like responsibility with no one to hand it to. And by the time you understand what you've been carrying, you've already been carrying it too long.